What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Arnies. We're three beefcakes that also happen to have Sherlock Holmes-level intelligence. I'm Matt Johnson, and I just love sleeping in the back of random flatbed trucks I find, like my good friend Jack Reacher.
I'm Keith Baker, and I buy all of my boxers used from thrift stores.
And I'm Austin Terry, and all the cops I meet also just happen to be willing to bend the rules for me.
Don't you love whenever you meet a cop, every other day, and they're always willing to bend the rules for you? God, I love it. A nice little holiday treat, which is so fitting because on today's show, we're celebrating the holiday season by talking about blood, intrigue, and Alan Ritchson's body with the premiere of Reacher Season 2. Season 1 made a big splash on Amazon Prime almost 2 years ago now, and it has been one of those few things that men in their 20s and 70s can't agree on. The show kicks some ass. After a long break, though, we're back with our favorite wanderer who says that he doesn't like getting involved, but always does, with a nice big 3-episode season premiere. But before we get to that, in the world of Reacher, most deaths are brutal, but if you had to pick one way to die at the hands of Jack Reacher, what would it be? I thought this would be a good question because, I guess you could pick a really brutal, crazy death just so you can kind of say that you had a crazy one. Or I guess you could opt for something that might, in the grand scheme of things, be quick and painless, but that's also not really Reacher's style. So I don't know, guys. How would you like to die at the hands of Jack Reacher?
Yeah, I definitely don't want the brutal one because those all look very painful, and that's not the way I want to go out. So after thinking about this question, I've decided that I want Alan Ritchson to come up and just give me a big hug from behind and have my neck nestled in between his shoulder blades and his huge biceps. And it'll just kind of lightly cut off my airway, and I'll just go into an eternal slumber nestled into Alan Ritchson's incredible body.
It sounds kind of like a nutcracker in a way. It's like if you could put your neck basically into a nutcracker, but this sounds kind of pleasant in a weird way.
Hey, we did say we're celebrating the holidays, so what's better than an Alan Ritchson nutcracker?
That is so true.
I was thinking of could he knock me out just so hard that I just slump over and die? But I was thinking no, maybe I could just be standing on the side of a cliff and he just comes up and just grabs me by the neck and just holds me over the cliff and just stares at me and says something really corny and then just throws me off the cliff.
Happy
and I fall the way down.
Bitch.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to be kind of lame here. I'm going to take one from the show because it's one that I hadn't really necessarily thought about being a way I'd like to die, but after witnessing it, I feel like it might be not that bad, guys. To be honest, if you got thrown out of a helicopter, don't you think you would probably die from shock before you hit the ground? Or I guess before you hit a tree on the way to the ground? I don't know. I feel like I might not even be conscious at that point, so maybe I'll get to enjoy kind of the experience of skydiving because I haven't, done it yet. So I'll get to do that before I die. And then I'll just slowly black out before my legs hit some trees and then I crash into the ground.
I think you're very importantly ignoring all the torture before you get thrown out of the helicopter, though.
Right. The torture. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, never mind. I guess just Reacher can shoot me in the head. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Austin and Keith, we never talked about Reacher Season 1 on this show, except for a small little segment on a movie and TV catch-up episode we did a while back. So let everyone know your quick thoughts on that, as well as your non-spoiler thoughts on the Season 2 3-episode premiere of Reacher.
Yeah, Reacher Season 1, I thoroughly enjoyed. It was definitely one of those kind of caught me by surprise. I went into it with such low expectations that I was surprised with how much I enjoyed it. Like the kind of tagline is for this episode, this show does kick ass. The action's great. The mystery was really fun in the first season, but then also the performances and kind of the deadpan of Alan Ritchson. There was a good amount of humor there too. So I came out of it very excited for Season 2. And going into Season 2, I gotta say, I think I'm kind of let down. There's just something about this season that's not really clicked for me yet. It's felt very cheesy. The writing has felt very off for me. And I feel like they're almost leaning too much into the comedy. And they did kind of, in Season 1, they had a nice little fish out of water dynamic with Reacher being kind of surrounded by people who don't know him and are unsure of him and his motivations. And with this season, they flipped that to put him among a team of people who know him, and that flip of character interactions hasn't really been working for me this season. So overall, I've still been having fun with the action, and there has been sequences that made me laugh, but compared to Season 1, it has felt like a step down for me.
I'm like you, Austin. I really enjoyed Season 1, loved all the characters. I love Alan Ritchson as this a literal action figure too. He just looks like some action figure you would buy in the store. It's crazy. And then Malcolm Goodwin and Willa Fitzgerald as the side characters were really good too. Going into season 2, I'm kind of with you, Austin. I think this one, I don't want to say it's a complete letdown. I'm still enjoying it. I think it's just, I'm just not as hooked as I was on season 1. Like season 1, first episode, I was like, this is awesome. Like I can't wait to watch the rest of the show. Season 2, I'm like, you kind of nailed it with the new characters are, I don't want to say they're bad. It's just kind of a different dynamic than him, like getting to know Finley and Willa Fitzgerald's character in season 1. He knows these people. He has a past with these people, but they're not really explaining the past all too well for me yet. Maybe they'll get more into detail later on. I think it's going there. But right now, it just seems they're just keeping everything kind of vague with the background of these people, which is kind of bugging me. I'm like, okay, can you reveal just a little bit more so we can kind of get through this hump that they're kind of in right now? Other than that, though, I think the action is still there for me. We get a lot of good gunfights, him kicking some random stranger's ass again. We get the intellect of him knowing when people are following him and all that. It's all fun stuff. So still enjoying it, but not quite as strong as season 1.
I think you did have a good point too, Keith. The side characters and supporting characters did feel a lot stronger in season 1, and that is one of the big things that has not been working for me in season 2. Is there's not really a side character that I've latched onto yet that I'm enjoying.
Yeah, I think I might be a little bit higher on it. Not like crazy high or anything. But yeah, Reacher season 1, I think, was great. I echo everything that you guys already said, so I won't belabor that point. I think the key thing to take away, maybe, keeping with non-spoilers, is I think one of the appeals of Reacher season 1 was that it was a very personal story for Reacher, but it took a while to kind of reveal that. So he's basically a fish out of water, like you said. All these people around him don't know him. He's not familiar with this town. But then they very quickly reveal that, oh, I know it's a crazy coincidence, but your brother actually was murdered here. So that becomes a very personal story. So it was kind of like a fun back and forth of like, I'm a fish out of water here, but I have a very personal kind of journey and vendetta. So that was kind of like a good mashup. Whereas I think the big difference with season 2 of Reacher is that they kind of took the fish out of water element away a little bit, because now he's very familiar with the people around him, but it's also still a personal journey vendetta, because now instead of his brother being killed, it's like the members of his old team are being picked off one by one. So I think my big thing is I didn't think I would, but I do miss kind of the fish out of water element. There's still bits and pieces of it there, because I mean, he's still such an off the grid guy that whenever he comes back in, it's like he doesn't really know what's going on. He's missing a lot of information. But so yeah, I think overall so far I definitely preferred season 1, but I'm still pretty high on this. Like he said, I still definitely am enjoying it. The action's great. I am intrigued enough by the mystery. I do have some qualms that I'll get into in the spoiler section of like how they're revealing certain things in flashbacks and how they're treating certain characters. Like in the past versus present, it feels like there's some weirdness in the present, like we're just like missing chunks of time. But again, this is just a premiere review. We've gotten 3 episodes. We have 5 left, so I'm sure we're going to get to that. I just hope it feels like well-paced as we keep going. But yeah, definitely. I read online someone called this like the pinnacle of dad TV, and I think that's so true. This is like a very macho show. Like even though it's violent, like dads and everybody like around the world will love it. I remember like being home for Christmas last year, and my dad, who doesn't watch this type of stuff all that often, was just randomly like at Christmas dinner with friends and family. He's like, have you watched Reacher yet? I was like, yeah, Reacher's pretty fucking awesome. He's like, I know. So it does have that vibe. It is like pinnacle dad TV, and it's super enjoyable. Am I enjoying it as much as season 1? No, but I still would recommend it. I'm having a very good time so far.
Yeah, it is very like macho masculine, but there is also something about it where it doesn't feel toxic. So they are kind of, they're towing the line there and still keeping it, I think, very approachable. I will say my wife watched the first 2 episodes of this and was like, I'm done with this. I don't need to see more. So it's not for everybody, but still really fun. I guess to kind of close out on spoiler section, are you liking season 2 enough to tune in every single week, or do you think you're going to wait till it ends and then just binge it all together?
I think so. I think as of now, I'm going to plan on watching it week to week. I'm invested and intrigued enough, and I just like Reacher as a character enough to watch him kind of go through this stuff on a week to week basis. That said, I don't think I watched the first season until it was all already out, and that was a super fun binge. So we'll see how it goes week to week. I might find myself like, man, there's not enough meat on the bone, like for 1 a week. So we'll see. But right now I'm planning on it.
I think for me, this is a wait and binge show. I did that last year with season 1. And like you said, it was a very fun binge. So I think I'm going to wait and then just knock out all 5 when it's finished.
Yeah, I'm kind of half and half. I'll try to watch it every week, but if I miss one, I'll just catch up the following week. Like you guys said, I think you nailed it perfectly with it being dad TV. I don't think this is like a show that you're going to get like a Breaking Bad like caliber type story, but as far as just enjoying it and loving the action, I'm all in for it. And I love detective stuff too. So like you said, Matt, I'm invested as well, but if I miss an episode, no biggie.
All right, well, there you go. Kind of have some varying thoughts on this season, so I think that'll make for a good conversation coming up. But before we get to that conversation, we have to drop the official spoiler warning. So if you are not current and not caught up on Reach, or if you haven't started the season 2 premiere episodes yet, make sure you go do that first, and then come on back to hear the rest. We'll be waiting for you. All right, guys, welcome to Spoiler Territory. Before we get to our freeform discussion where we break down all of our points, let's start us off, like we always do, with some cast, crew, and critical reception talk.
All right, so Reacher is developed by Nick Santora, who you may know from Punisher Warzone, The Sopranos, Prison Break, Lie to Me, and Breakout Kings. So far, we've seen episodes directed by Sam Hill and Omar Madda. The show is also written by Nick Santora, Scott Sullivan, and Penny Cox, and our score for the show is composed by Tony Morales, and of course, based on the Jack Reacher novels. This season is based on Bad Luck and Trouble specifically, written by Lee Child.
All right, and going to our cast, we have Alan Ritchson as Reacher, Maria Sten as Nagley, Serinda Swan as Dixon, Sean Sipos as O'Donnell, Luke Billick as Franz, Dominic Lombardozzi as Guy Russo, and we got Ferdinand Kingsley as AM, and Robert Patrick as Langston. All right, guys, there's our cast and crew. Any positives, any negatives? What do we got?
I mean, I'll take the easy one. The highlight is, of course, Alan Ritchson as Reacher. He really is carrying the show. He was the main draw for me in season 1, and I do think his performance and portrayal of the character has not taken a step down at all from season 1 to season 2. Still really enjoying him. He looks the part in the action. His deadpan is always funny. And I do like his kind of softer moments in between the characters we saw from season 1 and now going into season 2. He does still have some kind of emotional core with his former squad mates.
Yeah, no, I'm going to shout out him too, because it's such a big difference from Thad Castle from Blue Mountain State that we're used to. Like, what a night and day difference playing some like dumb jock football player to being like a really smart military personnel turned drifter.
I do think, though, if he hadn't done the journey of Blue Mountain State and developed his comedic chops, he probably would have nailed the comedy as well as he does here, because he does carry a lot of the comedic scenes, too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'll also shout out Maria Sten as Nagley. I think she's definitely a good right-hand lady for him. I like just, the smarts of her character, and she seems to be kind of the one that guides him in the right direction. So I really like her character from season 1 and going into this season as well.
Yeah, I definitely echo your guys' sentiments. Behind the scenes, I would just shout out like the choreography team, whoever's kind of putting these action sequences together and walking everybody through it. Definitely deserves some props, because there's some super fun action moments that I'm excited to talk about with you guys here. The person I'll shout out, I'm enjoying their performance. We haven't gotten a lot of screen time from them yet. I'm seemingly being set up to be a villain so far, but I'm liking seeing Ferdinand Kingsley pop up in more things. I really loved him in The Sandman. He was great in Silo that we talked about semi-recently. Was that this year or last year? I couldn't even tell you.
That was this year.
Crazy.
Already nominated for Best TV Show of the Year in our Academy Awards next week.
Ooh. But yeah, he was great in that. And here he's playing this weird character that like our team knows about. They call him AM because he uses those initials and everything. And I thought it was like fun seeing him pop up in certain scenes. Like he'd be doing one accent and then he'd be doing like an American accent. Like he was just like switching it up. So I feel like this character's like, they're easing us into him, but I think by the end of the day, he's going to be more scary of a presence than even like Robert Patrick is so far, who seems to be like the main villain for now, but I don't think he's going to be by the end.
I'm calling it now. AM is going to kill Dixon by the time this season is over.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know what? I think you might be right, because I thought it was interesting that they switched up like the romance angle, because like that took a while in season 1, and then here they're like, here you go. It's like, oh, okay. So they might be setting us up for some pain later down the road here.
I did kind of mention this at the beginning in our non-spoiler section, but I just wanted to go deeper on Reacher being paired with his own team this season that he knows and already has relationships with versus the lone wolf dynamic of season 1. I think for me, the thing that does feel off is, yes, he does know these people, but they're talking about all of their history and stuff, and it's just stuff we haven't seen. So like myself as the viewer still kind of feels out of place in these character relationships.
Yeah, and I kind of alluded to it before. The thing that's annoying me isn't even really necessarily this core four of a team. Because I'm enjoying these characters enough. I think there's some fun stuff there. There's some like, you kind of feel that there definitely is a history there. But what I meant earlier is the thing that's bothering me when it comes to the flashbacks versus the present isn't this team. It's how they're talking about everybody else. And then as these episodes go on, it's just like, oh, okay, I guess all these characters that we met briefly in episode 1 flashback are already dead. So it gets a little bit confusing when we don't really have much of a face to their name yet. And then as this premiere goes on, they just keep revealing that more and more of their old team are dead. But then they're still talking to each other just about them. So it's a little bit confusing. I'm curious, I think Keith mentioned it, as these episodes go on, do we get more flashbacks that like show these characters that are already dead? I don't know. That's the thing that's bothering me so far. Not like our present alive team, but the way they talk about the ones that are like being picked off and are already dead.
I think too, there is a lot more like, because of this dynamic, there is a lot more sitting around and talking instead of on the scene investigating action. So I am noticing like there's a lot of one-liners. The writing feels a little cheaper this time around. And maybe that's why I'm noticing that more. It's just because it feels like we are spending a lot more time like on the road with these characters or in a hotel room, or not like as much of exploring the town and expanding the mystery of Reacher trying to figure out the place he is in and things like that in season 1.
Yeah, I'm just confused about what the 110th has did. And with Robert Patrick's character coming in, he's like, I want them all dead. But it doesn't say anything else. It's like, I want them all dead. Like, can you say something, at least something else to give us some sort of hint?
I kind of imagine it's going to tie back to the case they're revealing in the flashback.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely tie it back. I mean, there's obviously got to be a reason that Robert Patrick is willing to kill all of the members of this team. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I guess that's kind of that cheap writing you're talking about a little bit, Austin, like what you said, Keith. It's like, yeah, it is kind of funny that like Robert Patrick's like not giving any like hints in the dialogue at all, and it's just one of those like transparent things. Well, that's because, well, hold on, we have to save it for episode 6. It's like, but it doesn't feel natural. It just feels like goofy that like they're not giving us anything. I did really love the moment wherever like they knock Franz out of the helicopter. He's like, yeah, big guy's gonna fuck you up, and then they reveal that he doesn't even know who Reacher is. I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but I don't know. We'll see where it's going. I definitely am a little bit iffy on the connection between the flashbacks and the present day stuff too.
Within the new 110th characters, is there anybody that stands out as a character you want to learn more about beyond Reacher?
I guess that's a good way to put it. Like, do I want to learn more about them? I don't know about that, but I'm just enjoying their screen time. I'm liking Dixon. I like O'Donnell. They're both like fun additions. Neely, I really enjoy. Like, do I need to learn more about any of those three? Like, at this time, I wouldn't say not necessarily, but I'm enjoying their screen time and their presence. I like watching them all in the action as well. I do think it's cool seeing like the element of like Dixon being, you know, this accountant, but then that kind of transition into undercover gigs. I thought it was cool seeing O'Donnell transition into like a lawyer type role, and like those moments like kind of come out as the episodes go on. You kind of see them like utilize their strengths, which was cool. I mean, I guess begrudgingly, I would say Swan, but that's kind of like a hit and miss thing. I want to learn more about him because I think it's like, oh, so maybe was there like an inside person from the 110th that's now working with Robert Patrick? I mean, that was like the big episode 3 ending, like, oh shit, Swan's there. But then it's like, they thought he was dead this whole time. Maybe he's not. So it's like, is he a good guy, a bad guy? So I'd like to learn more about him. But like, we've seen him twice briefly in flashbacks. So it wasn't like a huge like, whoa moment or anything.
I think for me, like beyond Reacher, the most interesting character has been Dixon. She also has gotten the most screen time. So that's probably why we just know her a little bit better. It has been a weird dichotomy for me of like O'Donnell comes in, talks about his wife and 3 kids, and the next scene he's like busting into a house and shooting 6 people in the head. Like that, like that dynamic has been kind of weird. It's like, so are you with like just the dad now,
do.
or yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
and same with Dixon, who is an undercover accountant. She's like knifing a guy in the throat the following scene. It's like, Jesus Christ! Like, I guess you guys are just totally okay with going rogue.
Yeah, I get kind of confused with their way of employment. Like Dixon, she seems to be still like in the life, I guess, going undercover, but O'Donnell just seems to be completely out of the life. So whenever he goes back and starts just going on this new journey with everybody, is he employed still by the military, or is he Are they being paid to like solve this case, or this just like a personal thing because they're all being targeted?
Yeah, is he like a military lawyer specifically?
Yeah.
But I hear what you guys are saying for sure. I mean, maybe it's one of those things we have to suspend our disbelief. It is still stupid, but I'm okay with it just because, like we said, I mean, their entire team and only their team is being picked off. So I'm okay with them like doing like some personal vengeance and like, even though if he's just like a random lawyer, like him popping in and shooting people, I'm okay with it because they got to avenge their fallen comrades. You guys, I know, mentioned, was this turning more comedic potentially as a negative? Like, should we talk about that some more? Like, were there any highlight scenes, or is it just like an overall negative? Like, there's too much of this.
It does feel like Reacher is saying more like stupid one-liners this season than he did in the first season of like, we'll do it, but first I gotta go to the hardware store.
You're right. Because he did like almost the exact same line before, wherever she's like, you going to get a gun? He's like, yeah, but first I gotta go to church. It's like, okay.
But then he still has the funny moments of like, he'll be in a group setting and some character will be like, wow, I really wish I could talk to them. And he'll just go, well, you can't because he got thrown out of a helicopter. So like he still has the timing, and I just think it's too many like one-liners. It was more sporadic in the first season.
Yeah, I think this kind of ties into the conversation around the team dynamic and how do we feel about, the pairing as opposed to the lone wolf aspect in season 1. I guess the reason why that stuff and the comedy isn't like sticking out to me as like a negative either way really is because, I mean, both seasons had that. Maybe this is more, maybe it's just been too long since I've seen Reacher, so I don't really remember. But I mean, Malcolm Goodwin and Will Fitzgerald definitely had a good team dynamic with Reacher. Maybe that's just better than what we're getting here, but still is a team dynamic. And then same with the comedy. Like I loved a lot of those like funny lines in season 1. So like here, it's not bothering me as much, but I will say like some of those lines, it seems like he's just repeating himself now.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's the issue. Maybe he's just like using the same jokes. I mean, the whole church bit is hysterical and not really the best way because he's like, I got to get a gun, but I got to go to church. And then he goes to church and like lies to the father about like, where are the drugs around here? So I guess he can get a gun without buying it. And so then it just immediately cuts to him like running over 2 drug dealers and like taking money in the gun, and then he just gives the money back to the church. I guess Reacher is like a secret comedic genius because that is pretty fucking hysterical.
I guess what stands out to me more is in season 1 when he's paired with Roscoe and Finley, they are everyday police officers in this town, and they have to kind of watch their bedside manner more in conversations, and Reacher's not doing that. So it is the juxtaposition of those characters trying to manage conversations, and then Reacher coming in and being very blunt and straightforward. That comedic timing I just thought worked better in season 1.
I do like like you asked earlier, I do like the chemistry though with him and his teammates. You can definitely see that they have a past together, even though we don't know the full extent of that yet. But I do like that Dixon and O'Donnell and Eagly all have like their own, like, I guess, skills about them. Like O'Donnell like pulls like the knife on them. Like, they're all kind of a badass in their own way, which I thought was cool. I'm glad Reacher's not like just super beyond them in badassery and skills to the point where they're just like way beneath them. Like they're like right on his tail as far as that stuff goes, which is cool.
I do think, though, the flip side of that is we're spending a lot of time in flashbacks this season, and those have all kind of felt like wasted time to me.
Yeah, it's just hard to say so far, just because we have no clue where it's going. It sounds like maybe we have some ideas, like maybe some of the cases they were working on as the special investigators will somehow tie into what some of them did after. The team disbanded, so it's like, I guess once that happened, some of them started picking up some work again, started teaming up, and then that led to them getting like kidnapped, tortured, and killed. Like, I don't know. So I'm with you that like the flashbacks seem a little kind of like whatever. Especially because the first major one is him like basically introducing us, the audience, to this team, but then cut back to present day and like over half of them are already dead. And so then like the following flashbacks just kind of give us, I guess, little moments with the surviving ones. So it's weird. Yeah, I'm not like fully loving the flashback so far for that reason. But yeah, I am with you, Keith, though, that I do like that everybody on the team is competent. It's not like Reacher is like this crazy better than them. Speaking of the comedy, I like that they all have their own comedic moments, too. I like how it's not just Reacher doing the same like deadpan thing or directing that he was in season 1. It does feel a bit more conversational this season, which is like a fun difference. Like, I like seeing characters that know Reacher kind of give him some shit, too. Kind of like, make fun of him a little bit, which is kind of fun, like a fun difference to see. So I'm liking those comedic moments maybe the best out of anything else so far. But speaking of the action, did you guys like have any just pick a set piece? Are there any set pieces that you liked in particular? Because for me, it probably is the pipe bomb house. I thought that was like super fun.
The best one for me is the opening scene with the guy with the carjacking. That's been the best beatdown to me so far.
I did like the, I guess the construction site. Whenever
That's the other one I was going to say.
He kills that one guy with like drowning him in the cement.
Cement.
Yeah.
And like one guy, he like throws a cinder block almost at his head and then like kills him by like stabbing him in the leg and then just like literally chucking him off a construction site. And then the camera just pans down and this guy falls into like a stack of cinder blocks so hard that they just break.
I was laughing at that.
That was funny. And that felt like an intentional comedic bit because it's like on top, Reacher finds like one cinder block and hits him with it, and he throws him off, and the camera feels like, oops, I accidentally threw him into a bed of cinder blocks.
That guy did get a knife into his stomach, though.
It happens.
I feel like he only got stabbed, so in the next scene we could see him shirtless with his 13-pack and be like,
It's
oh my
insane.
God, this guy, it's insane.
Is insane.
You knew it was coming too. I was like, oh,
We
yep,
knew it
we're
was
going to get another shower scene.
I was just sitting there like, this guy should have been cast as Ken in the Barbie movie.
Oh, how dare you.
Jack
I love
Ken.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah, Jack Ken. Speaking of the comedic stuff, though, that kind of like paired that with the action. Another one of my favorite bits is probably, because I don't think this was in season 1, but this season I'm liking how Reacher is kind of accidentally killing everybody instead of leaving one alive to ask them questions. And then like at the construction site that happens. But then the one time he earnestly tries to do it, the guy has a heart attack. That was pretty funny. So I'm liking that Reacher can't really help himself either. If he accidentally is in full rage mode where he kills everybody, or he's trying to be a detective, but then everybody looks up at him and gets so scared about this hulk of a man that they have a heart attack on the spot and die.
And he just chucked a Weber grill into that guy's windshield.
Weird scene, because Reacher's like sprinting through like this like residential area, and like they show him get very winded and stop, and then he looks over and sees a grill. And then the next scene, like a grill just flies through the sky and lands onto this car. I just thought it was funny that Reacher was too tired to keep running, but had just enough strength to hurl a grill into somebody's windshield.
He's always preferred weightlifting over cardio.
That is true. That is true.
Well, he's always stronger than you think he is, because it showed the grill, and I was like, oh, he's going to like take the handle off the grill. No, he just threw the entire
the whole
grill
thing.
at the car.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to like pull the propane tank out, like blow the car up. But
See?
no, he preferred to chuck the entire 3-piece grill with the smoker into the guy's windshield.
He's always surprising us. So we've already kind of talked about the mystery a little bit and kind of our thoughts on like the flashbacks, how it might be a little bit convoluted, and we're hoping that kind of gets cleaned up and connected better as the episodes go on. But as we kind of alluded to, the people that seem to be at the top of this mystery, like at least for now, like potentially the people that we're going to have to go after is, Robert Patrick, of course. And of course, they did make a Terminator reference when they were like, oh, he's under the alias Sarah Connor. Do you know who that is? And he's like, who gives a fuck? It's like, because he was in Terminator, guys. Crazy. And then, yeah, you have Ferdinand Kingsley as AM. So I think these are our 2 linchpins of this season. That's my guess so far. Any kind of questions or thoughts, or how are you feeling about that?
I've been liking their screen presence. It has kind of felt a little formulaic, where it's just like the last 5 minutes of each episode, we're going to see them on screen and they're going to do something a little spooky that gets you angry, and then they're going to say a one-liner. So I'm excited to see them actually interact with the team. I did think the first season had a better way of like unveiling their villains, because it was almost like every time you solved one piece of the case, you thought you got the big bad guy, and then another one was revealed. So I'm wondering if they're going to kind of do that Russian doll thing again this season. But for the moment, AM has had the better screen presence to me than Langston.
I guess I am like, talking about Langston. Maybe like one intriguing element is they did reveal in the same picture when they revealed that Swan was involved with this company. Like there is this larger company. It's like, oh, what are they up to? Because it showed Langston in that photo as well. It showed the woman that gave Neely and Dixon the like address for where they went to do the pipe bomb, but then they revealed later, oh, that was intentional. They wanted us to go there to ambush us and kill us. So it's like maybe this company is definitely involved. So I'm curious where that might go. But definitely more interested in where AM goes from here, because I think they're going to have trouble tracking him, it seems.
And I guess I'm curious how this all connects to the flashback mystery that they're unveiling too. Right now, I think the only thing I've been tuning in for currently is just to see what crazy shit Reacher is going to get into. But so far, the mystery really hasn't hooked me yet this season.
Yeah, me neither. But I think it's building up to it. So I'm excited to see what other crazy stuff AM's going to do. I think he's creepy. Can't wait to see what other action scenes that are in store. And then just the overall character development of all the other side characters. I want to see where that goes as well. I think, Matt, you mentioned earlier, we might get a big death in this season with one of his beloved side companions. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really have like any theories on where this mystery would go. I think that might be a little bit of a negative to the show. Not that I don't know where it's going, but just that I don't. Like I've already said a billion times, it's just I'm a little bit confused by some of the stuff introduced in the flashbacks and how that ties to our characters in the present. And like, oh wait, most of them are already dead anyway, so it's kind of weird. So it's hard to predict where this might go. So I'm hoping for something that surprises me. I think when it comes to what I'm intrigued about, it's not really the mystery necessarily. It is like, what is this company actually up to? How does Robert Patrick fit into that? Why is he getting involved with an international arms dealer? How does that work? And then, of course, the element that, like, you know, one of their own, of the 110th, is involved in this company as well. Is that going to be set up for a secret, like, big bad, maybe? Like, having to fight one of their own, maybe? I don't know. But, so I'm intrigued about some of those pieces enough, but, you know, it's not, like, as good as the first season of Mystery.
Yeah, I just hope they find the balance better between the comedic nature, the mystery, introducing you to the squad mates. Like, if by the end of the season, I'm like, wow, I really love those characters, and that mystery got to where it was, and I just look back on the premieres like that was the weakest part, then I think overall I'll view the season as a success. Just right now, I have been let down compared to how strong the intros were in season 1, because season 1 hooked me immediately, and then it was such a fun binge.
Well, all right. Hopefully, you know, we're all at varying degrees of hype and enjoyment for this season, but let's just hope we all end strong, because I want to end season 2 being hyped as hell for season 3. So we'll see what happens with Reacher. But yeah, I think that's going to close us out, guys. Before we do that, though, of course, let's do some Arnie's Podcast Awards. Keith, it's been a while since you got to participate and give out an esteemed award. So this is very exciting. But yeah, this is the part of our show before we close out where we take something positive, negative, or something in between from the project we just talked about, and it's just something that we feel deserves a very specific award. So, guys, where do you want to start today?
I'm going to give the Grill Master Award to Reacher. Played by Alan Ritchson. We touched on it. He just chucks a whole entire Werber grill into a car shield. Both the compartments and the smoker gets chucked along with that. I kind of just want to see Reacher behind the grill. We know he loves hot dogs at baseball games. So I think he could whip up a pretty nasty meal. So, and if he's not happy, he'll just chuck it over the fence. I just want to address this. I would not be happy if I walked out into my driveway and found the grown man asleep in my truck bed. I don't think you can do that. I think you're trespassing.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful with that one. But also, talking about food and talking about fences, chucking a grill over a fence actually ties into my award. And that goes to Alan Ritchson as well as Reacher, but he's going to get the Human Wrecking Ball Award, because I was laughing my ass off during that scene where they're running in the residential like housing area, and he's literally just running through fences. Like, it to a comical degree. It's like, it seemed like it was supposed to be from like a Looney Tunes cartoon where you're running so fast, you run through a fence. But Alan Ritchson actually did that. He just like was running straight through solid objects like fences.
Reminded me of the scene from Bandits when they're just driving the wrecking ball through people's backyards.
There you go. This was inspired by that, I heard.
I kind of thought of Ferris Bueller's Day Off too, when he's just jumping over
same thing.
Fences one after the other. He sometimes kind of grosses me out with the food. He and then Finley even calls him out on it in the first season. He's like, "How can you look like that and eat like you do?" And he's like, I don't remember what he says. He says something really stupid. He's like, "It helps," or something like that. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. As we've learned today, not all of Reacher's one-liners are hits.
How often is he in the gym with his transit lifestyle? I don't get how he's maintaining this body.
Well, we know he get his steps in because he's walking pretty much across the country everywhere. But yeah, I don't know, Austin. It's a good question. Is he going to like these little Lifetime gyms on the way and like just lifting a shit ton of weights that we're not seeing?
It's possible.
I like to think he's just lifting heavy stuff in a train yard.
Yeah.
Possible. All right. Well, let's not go down too far in that rabbit hole because I don't think we're going to like the answer. Reacher is just Reacher. He looks that way. We just have to accept it. Maybe he's lifting weights in the gym. Maybe he's lifting random shit. We don't know, guys. We just don't know. But with that, Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss our upcoming content. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing us with a friend, we would appreciate that so we continue to grow our show. Please leave us reviews as well. Even if you don't want to write anything, leaving us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or regular podcasts really does help us out. At The Arnies is our social, and the Arnies.media is the website. We'll be back next Tuesday with our end-of-year blowout, the Arn Academy Awards. We'll go over what we discussed this year on the podcast, create our own categories with some old favorites and new ones alike, and each nominate something. And then on the episode next week, we will debate and figure out what should win each category. It's always a fun time, always one of our favorite episodes to do. Are you guys ready? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited because we looked around and we said, we don't want to see Wonka. We don't want to see Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. We just want to hand out some awards. So it's going to be a good time next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's definitely some reoccurring awards that I'm always excited to see what y'all will bring as nominees. So it's going to be funny. It's going to be fun. And lastly, we want to hear from you guys, so please send us a message on Instagram at the Arnies or email us thearniesmedia@gmail.com. What did you think of Reacher Season 2 so far? What solid object would you like to see Reacher run through next? Anything you say we'll read on the show and react to it live on our latest episode.
That's right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll catch you next time for our year-end episode. Enjoy your week. See you then.
See ya.
You gotta go to the hardware store.